Hey, greetings. Welcome to Carnivore-ish Conversations, where truth, taste, and transformation turn up. I'm Denitra Davis, your advocator, coach, and educator, committed to keeping you in the ish. And ish is informed, satiated, and healing. This is not just a show. This is a space where we cut through the noise, dismantle myths, and we connect the dots between what's on your plate and what's showing up in your labs, your life, and your legacy. If you've been told meat is bad, plants are perfect, and moderation is the answer, then I need for you to stick around tonight. What you're about to hear might just save your health. So this month we are resetting, right? We're in a rhythm and we're reclaiming. Every guest this month is about showing you how they've reset their health, how they've found their rhythm, and how they have reclaimed their life. So ultimately on this show, my goal for us is to identify the fact that we are in a society where we are 90% of us are metabolically unhealthy. What does that mean? Most of us are insulin resistant. The research says that 88% of us are insulin resistant, which means that insulin is not functioning in our body properly and doing the things that it should. The problem is most of us don't know it. We have no clue. I live in that 93%. What does that mean for me? It means that I am here trying to be informed. I want the best information that I can have. I'm learning the importance of being satiated. That means fueling on the right stuff. And because I do those things, that helps me to heal. So tonight I have an amazing guest that's going to join me. And I'm committed to bringing guests that can resonate, that are having their own lived experiences on how they've transitioned. So tonight we have Tanya Taylor. I'm going to bring her on stage. So welcome, Tanya. So let me just tell you guys a little bit about Tanya. So go figure it. Tanya is a former non-invasive laser lipo spa owner. I told her we might need to pull the laser and the lipo out, like really for real. Let's like pull it back out. She's also been featured for the Women's First magazine. But guess what she was featured for? For being a raw vegan at the time, right? She is a former vegan. She's been a keto eater. We know that keto, the term means ketogenic, but we have, it's been so commercialized. Keto is not a bad thing at all, but it's been so commercialized that we have to do a lot of caveats to help people understand. But she also was a SAD dieter. What do I mean by that? SAD, we call SAD is the standard American diet. It makes us sad. So what we've learned is even when we are eating how we've been instructed to eat, it's pretty sad. She was fasting 2 days a week for the past year. But guess what? She did a 30-day experiment. We call it 30 days, like this N equals 1 experiment, just to check in with yourself. I often say that what's happening in our body should not be a mystery to us. So she pulled back the layers, did this 30-day check in with herself. She leaped into carnivore. And again, when we say carnivore on here, yes, a carnivore is primarily a meat eater, but the caveat that you keep seeing is carnivore-ish, because there is no perfection here. We are navigating the waters of making sure that we prioritize protein and fat and that we dial back the sugars. And what we know is that all of that is sugar when it's plant-based. So what happened next is what we're about to unpack. So let's welcome Tanya to the show. And we're going to talk about where her health journey began. So I'm going to pause, Tanya, let you do a little introduction of yourself, share some things that you want to share. And I just say thank you for joining me. Thank you for your journey. And by all means, let's dive into it.
Well, Denise, thank you so very much for having me. So let me start with 2005 to 2007. I was a raw vegan. I was pretty big on the scene. First Look for Women decided to have me in a 2-page article in the middle of the magazine. So that diet, the raw vegan diet, I had lost a lot of body fat, but food is social. And the thing I didn't like about it is I couldn't eat out with my friends. It wasn't fun when I would go out with my friends and they're eating steak and I'm asking for a raw salad with oil and vinegar. Like, so that sucked. So there was only one other friend, her and her husband were raw foodists, and they were the only couple in 2 years that I would hang out with. And so again, food is very social. I only did it to stay a certain weight for my wedding. After I got married on the honeymoon, that diet went straight out the window. So again, the raw vegan was not sustainable for me at all because again, I couldn't hang out with my friends, and I'm a big foodie, by the way. So that was in 2007. Fast forward, I got married 5 years ago. We tried the vegan diet for 9 months. So at the beginning of January, my husband, he's a pastor, and he announces to the church that we'll do the Daniel diet. And I said, well, why don't we just stay on this diet? So 9 months later, we both gained 20 pounds. 9 months later. And so I was like, hold up, what's wrong with this? Yes, we haven't ate any meat, but we're both 20 pounds heavier. So again, if you have two people who are insulin resistant eating all the sugar just turned to fat and we stored it. So the raw vegan didn't work. The vegan didn't work. Then I did keto. So I was doing keto, and my husband is 20 years my senior, and he used to say, "Why is it right after dinner? You just want to go to bed." He was like, "You act like an old lady." And I used to say, "Well, this is just how God made me." And for years, I'm talking about not a few years, probably going back 2 decades, my old neighbors used to say, "We see after dinner your house lights out." But what I didn't know, and on a typical, I was eating low carb. So I would have a protein, a vegetable, and a salad. But just that vegetable and a salad, that was enough carbs to raise my insulin and to crash it back out. So I just figured, since I was on a keto diet, that this is just how God made me. Like, my body just gets tired after dinner, and that's just it. So it wasn't until I started eating carnivore, and I'm like, no, that's not how God made me. Now I don't go to sleep until 11 o'clock at night. So let me back it up. How did I get started? So basically, I've tried a lot of diets, very unsuccessful um, at them. So with the carnivore diet, this is how it all got started. It was one lady came across my Instagram, and it sounded so ludicrous. I'm not even gonna lie. Literally, I blocked this lady. I'm like, that just sounds, this lady is a lunatic. I blocked her. But they always say what's meant for you is for you, period. In the story, you can't stop it. Right? So here I go, block this lady because she's talking about, look at my body, look at this, I have energy, and I eat only meat. I'm like, she's crazy. Let me put her on block. But guess what? Guess what, sister? Somebody else came up on my Facebook feed. And they're talking about eating all meat. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. So somebody had posted, it was the documentary called Animal, and it's like 2 hours, and I watched it. And what caught my eye was, it was a doctor up in New York who I did IVF 5 years ago, and back then he was really big on the low carb scene. And when he recommended carnivore, I was like, oh my goodness, this is somebody I met in real life that is mentioning carnivore. Like, and this man, it was 70 years old. He's been doing it for the last 15 years, and he doesn't look 70. So I was like, okay. Around the same time, it was like a lot of things started happening all at once. So that's how I know, like, this was definitely meant to be. Around the same time, I go on vacation with my girlfriends, and it was a whole group of friends. And my one friend takes this picture, and I caught my chunky monkey picture, because you think you look good until somebody shows you a picture of yourself. And so she sends me this picture. I'm in Mexico. I got this blue drink in my hand, sitting on a cabana, and my face and my arms look so bloated. And I was like, oh my goodness. Now, let me back it up. I knew I was going on vacation with my friends. So imagine every day I'm taking my dog for a walk, probably for 2 months straight. I am doing two 35-hour fasts. So literally I would eat on Mondays, and I would close my window at 7. I wouldn't eat again until Wednesday morning. I would eat Wednesday, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, close my window at 7. I would not eat again until Friday morning. Okay? So I'm fasting 2 days a week. I'm taking my dog for a walk. I'm lifting weights. And I did all that. And to see my the effort of all that, the results in a picture, I was mortified when my girlfriend sent me that picture. It was like, oh my goodness, I look like that. And I was hurt because I'm like, I'm not understanding. Like, I'm fasting, I am exercising, I'm walking, I'm lifting weights. I am not eating any junk food. I'm not eating a whole lot of carbs. I'm drinking lots of water. I'm dry brushing. I'm hopping in the sauna. Like, I don't know what else to do. Again, everything what's meant for you is meant for you, or things happen around the same time. So around that time, there's a lady from my church who has stage 4 cancer. One thing that I do know, I've researched um, health and wellness enough to know that uh, cancer thrives on sugar. And so this lady is stage 4, and they did not say, we'll heal you. They said, we'll make you comfortable. So I invited her to my house, and I said, look, I think you can heal yourself. And I said, but you have to cut all the sugar out of your body, like all the sugar. And so I had not even tried carnivore yet. And I said, I watched this documentary. It's 2 hours about the carnivore diet. It's by doctors. And I said, why don't you watch it? And we'll reconvene next week. So the following week she comes over, and she said, I watched it. I want to do it. She said, but you're gonna do it with me, right? Now I remember that picture of me sitting on the beach looking like old chunky monkey. And I'm like, yeah, okay. But in my head, I'm thinking we're gonna do it after July 4th. We're gonna do it after the church picnic. And this lady looks at me like, I got stage 4 cancer. I got tired of waiting for all that. Like, we met on a Wednesday. She said, no, we're gonna start Monday. And I was like, okay. 4th of July came, and it wasn't hard at all. I mean, so my parents were really supportive, and I just ate the hot dogs and the hamburgers and made some deviled eggs. The church picnic came, and by now I'm 2 weeks in. And so I was like, okay, this is at first I was like, I don't know how this is going to be. It's almost like having an alcoholic at the bar. You know what I mean? And so you got everybody bringing dishes. And I was just, one lady from Jamaica, she brought jerk chicken. So I had some dry rub chicken. I had hot dogs, hamburgers, and some deviled eggs and crabs. That was my dessert. I feasted on crabs. And I was like, so, but people will watch you. They don't listen to what you say, they'll watch what you do. So I knew at the church picnic, if I was ever going to be able to influence anybody else, that I needed, that people are watching. They're watching even when you think they're not watching. So I was eating crabs. I had a great time at church picnic. So now I'm 2 weeks in. Now, one thing, I'm going to back up my story again. 60 days ago, so I'm 41 days in. 60 days ago, I went to the OBGYN. I was having, my period was so painful. I mean, I'm like, I'm calling OBGYN. I'm like, I'm 52 years old. I haven't had painful periods like this since I was like back in high school. What is wrong? Immediately, they're doing a sonogram. They say we see, I'm thinking they're seeing babies. Like at first, I got scared. They're like, we see 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm like sitting there mortified, like, for what? I don't want quadruplets. I'm 52. They're like, these are fibroids, and this is why you're having very painful periods. I'm like, can you take them out? They were like, no, they're too small. They got to get big. And I'm like, all right, well, what else can we do? And she was like, take mine off. That was it. And I remember that particular painful period, I was popping Midol every day, twice a day. Like in the morning, I had to wake up, eat, and take Midol, and then Midol before I went to sleep. And it was very painful. It was very uncomfortable. I was very bloated. When I went carnivore, and my period came, when Little Red Riding Hood came to town, it was like she was unannounced. I mean, she was quiet. There was no pain. She came. The usual bloating wasn't there. Um, she came and she left very quietly. And I couldn't believe it. I said, wow. So I just started noticing something after my 30th day. So 52 years old. Every other month, I had to get my hair colored because the grays were just starting to come in like just crazy. And I just figured, well, this is just what you do when you're 52. When you're 52, you just have hot flashes because everybody talks about perimenopause, perimenopause. It's just a normal thing. And you're just going to get a lot of gray hair, and all this is a part of aging. So at some point, I just kind of accepted this is a part of aging. I'm just going to, before the period, I'm going to feel terrible. I'm going to get a lot of gray hair, and that's just a part of life. And I kept looking after 30 days. I'm like, wait a minute. I got just a few grays I could plug with tweezers, but nothing to the effect that I got to make a phone call and have the beautician dye my hair. And every morning, even now, I'm like, oh my goodness. Like before, it was crazy. All this would have just started coming in gray. So then I was like, whoa, hold up. This is almost like reverse aging. After 30 days, I took my before and after. My arm, I haven't even lifted weight yet, but my face was puffy. My arm was puffy. What I noticed is the grays is coming in a lot less. I'm now, I don't go to bed. I will be talking to people until 11. My mom is even like, it's 11. I'll call her. It's 11 o'clock at night. Isn't it way past your bedtime? Like my friends are like, now, what are you, I'm on Facebook. What are you doing up? Like, isn't it past your bedtime? Because anybody that knows me knew my norm, they would say, oh, you like an old lady. Because I would be in the bed about 7:30. But that was because the insulin rise and the insulin crash. Guess what? Now I eat, I can have a high fatty meal, and I have energy. I don't have that crash and burn. So now I can stay up late. I can start being more productive, and I'm getting a lot more done. So after I'm on day 41, I look at this diet as the reverse aging diet. I'm like, whoa, I'm 52. I now in 41 days have more energy than I've ever had. My grays are not coming in. My periods are not painful at all. And at the same time, my body is in ketosis, constantly burning up fat. And another thing I love about being in ketosis, so I have two parents. My mom got breast cancer like 2 years ago. My father currently has lung cancer. So that tells me I come from a family, both sides, that have that genetic cancer. But again, as long as my body is staying in ketosis, I'm not going to get it. My body's constantly repairing itself. So I call this is like the reverse aging diet for me.
Yes, I love everything that you've shared. You have like gone into so many details. I just want to dial back to some things. Thank you for your transparency. I love your energy. And I tell people that's what not eating sugar will do for us, right? Is give us this extra amount of energy. So, one of the things I just want to applaud you for is this pact that you made with a friend, right? Showing up as a friend of someone who is having cancer. They made a decision of something that they wanted to try, and then you jumped on board. I mean, like, look at the beauty of that. The beauty of it was not only were you helping someone, and I'm a whole God girl. The Bible says when you water, you're going to be watered, right? And so here you are agreeing to help someone else and then finding something that is healing to you also. So kudos to you for that. So then you talked about this switch you made. I remember too, like doing the Daniel fast and making the Daniel fast like this way of life. I went through the same thing. I think I did it for like a year one time because Daniel looked good and he looked better. And again, the church girl in me, I had to learn that that's why I was called a fast. This is why they were so shocked to see them look well. So I just appreciate you even extracting how we become extreme about certain things because it's biblical. But he had a limited time that he was on that fast. So I appreciate you saying that. I want to pose a question to you because you share so much and I just appreciate it. I mean, the comments are already firing up. I love it. The one thing that I want to ask you about is because we hear like raw vegan. And so I want to make sure that we level set what vegan is. It means people who do not eat any kind of animal, anything, right? They don't even want leather
Correct.
purses. They don't want anything to do with it. So I want to first ask you, just in the hearing of our audience, why did you choose vegan? Like, what did you understand about vegan that made you say this is something that you wanted to try?
Let me see, 2005. I don't know. I was always into health. And again, back then, this is over what, 20 years ago. It in my head, it was all about just I just wanted to look a certain way. So it was like, and I might have ran across somebody on YouTube that was raw vegan and I say, oh, I want to do that too. And it was just like I said, it wasn't sustainable. It's just to maintain a certain weight. And it just food is very social, and I'm a very social person. And to just be, it was a very isolated diet. So it was raw fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and berries, just raw. But it was just, I felt isolated. I couldn't hang out with my friends. I couldn't, I didn't want to eat with my friends. Who wants to eat? You're eating a salad, and your girlfriend in front of you is eating a steak. Like, that was absolutely no fun at all. So
So
I
what I heard you say was that the health aspect of it, because that's what we hear. So I don't know if I've even shared with you. We met over the weekend. We met some time ago, and I'll go into that in a bit. But I too tried, right? Vegetarian wasn't getting it. I tried vegan as well, right? I continue to get what I call fluffy. So it's people who are looking for this health aspect of it because somehow we've made plants to be benign. We've made them be the healthiest way to eat. If it says vegan, if it says no meat, people wear this badge of honor of not eating meat. And so what I want to hear from you is, what is the one myth that you had to unlearn about plants that help you move forward with this journey? So we have all these ideas about how great
oh,
plants are.
I got it. I got it. So
Yes.
I didn't understand when I was a raw vegan because we would do lots of smoothies, right? And they used to say, but they never went into details. They say, whatever you do, just don't, like, I would do green smoothies, and they would say, don't do the same green every single day, or else your body's going to build up poison and toxin. And I was like, what? That sounds crazy. But looking back, I understand about oxalates now, because spinach, when I used to do, I could never do a handful of a spinach smoothie. Like, if I would do a spinach smoothie, literally, it would make me nauseous. It would make me nauseous. And again, I didn't understand about oxalates, because it's just like when somebody says, don't do XYZ. And you're like, well, that sounds crazy. I mean, so now that I'm in the carnivore world, people go into a lot more detail of, this is why you don't eat XYZ. And so, yeah, it was like, with kale, I was eating a lot, and then that's all I would hear is, just don't eat a lot of the same greens in smoothies, or else your body's going to build up a poison. And that's all they would say. But they didn't go into any more detail than that.
So this
So,
thing that you just called out was how we label things so healthy. So we think, eat all the spinach you want. We move from eating bread to like do a spinach wrap, do it over a bed of spinach, do it over kale. So like I always like to tell this story around kale, around Pizza Hut. If people do the research, like Pizza Hut at one time was the biggest consumer of kale because it garnished the salad bar. There was a time where it was the highest consumer. And so kale wasn't something we ate, right? Because of the oxalates that you mentioned. So what are oxalates? Oxalates are the things that plants use to protect themselves. They have toxins in them. So that, a lot of times when we hear that we're getting these nutrients from plants, they've blocked that for us and we're not getting it. And so they end up being inflammation inside of us. And so unlearning that was a struggle for me as well. Like really trying to get to a place where I'm like, but plants are healthy. Like I struggled with letting them go, like many people do, because surely fruits and vegetables are good for you. You mentioned something in speaking and you kind of ran past it a little bit, and I just want to reverse us and drive us back. I heard you mention terms like insulin resistance or my insulin was going up, my blood sugar was going up. I'm going to give you just some time. I just want you to kind of unpack that in your words, right? The people here, they hear me talk about it all the time, right? And, sometimes I may be, over the top, but I think your lived experience with what that feels like when you are experiencing insulin resistance can help some of the folks that are here. So you'll talk us through that. That'll be awesome.
Absolutely. So in my spa, I used to tell all my clients would come and I would put everybody on a keto diet because I didn't know about carnivore, or else I would put them on a carnivore diet. So I put myself on a keto diet. And so my main meals, let's say dinner time, would be a protein, vegetable, and a salad. Pretty basic. But again, if being insulin resistant, just those little carbs in, say, the broccoli in that salad, it was enough to raise my sugar up. Now I know, since I've eliminated it all from my diet, and it would raise my sugar up and it would crash it back down. But I didn't know what was happening over the last 20 years. So if, let's just say, I had dinner at 6, by 7:30, I was ready to go to sleep. And I just assume this is how my body is. And there is no correlation of I'm eating carbs, and even the little bit of carbs that I'm having in this green broccoli and this salad, there's tomatoes, what's in the salad. I never put two and two together that it's raising my insulin and it's crashing me out. And the effect of eating that way just made me feel sleepy after dinner. And I used to tell my husband, he'd say, "You're too young to go to bed at 7:30." And I would rebuttal, "Talk to the Lord, because this is how God made me." Like, if this is how I've been for the last 20 years, I assume this is just how the Lord made me. He didn't make me to stay up late at night. And then when I go keto, and I'm eating dinner and it's like I'm waiting to fall asleep. And now, I eat dinner and I'm like, okay, let's get into something because I have energy. Let's play Uno. Let's go for a walk. Like, let me do something because I don't want to go to sleep at 7:30. And even my mother is 81 years old. Now contact her at 11 and she's like, "Tanya, isn't it past your bedtime?" Everybody that knows me knows that I would eat dinner and after there, and there's a 90-year-old woman at church. And we had this running thing, like if there was a church meeting, she would look at me, like in the evening, I look at her and I'd say, "It's past our bedtime, right?" But again, I did not put the correlation of what I was eating with my lack of energy. I mean, you would think I wasn't, and we're not talking about eating pasta. We're not even talking about eating rice. Literally, keto meals of a protein, usually some type of green vegetable, or broccoli, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, and a big salad. And I thought I was eating very clean, and I never equated what I was eating to my lack of energy because I wasn't eating a lot of processed carbs. I wasn't eating, it's not like I had pasta and rice. I didn't have a side of bread, but just that keto meal, that was enough to raise my insulin, crash it down. But again, I didn't put the two and two together. I just figured, well, in the evenings by 7:30, my body is just tired.
I'm loving what you're saying because it's these lived experiences that people are like having some of these same experiences, and now we're putting some explanation to perhaps why you're having that. You've had this big salad, right? You may have had salmon on your salad, and you can't understand, like, I ate this healthy meal. Why am I still fatigued? Why am I still tired? And you're laying it out perfectly for us to understand is that it is the sugar. That
Yes.
salad is turning into sugar. If you had a baked potato, some people are like saying things like, "I don't eat white potatoes anymore. I only do sweet potato. And I don't put any brown sugar on it." that sweet potato is going to turn to sugar. I just like to remind the audience and those that are listening that the body, scientifically, the body can only manage 1 teaspoon of sugar in a day. Okay, let's pause, let's breathe, let's woosah, because that's hard for us to really comprehend. I ain't talking about the tablespoon, y'all. I'm not talking about the cup we poured into the Kool-Aid. I'm talking about 1 teaspoon of sugar. And just imagine, some people are starting even with their coffee. It's 3, 4, 5 teaspoons that you've already taken in. You've eaten nothing else, and you've started the day with that for your coffee. What we're
Can I
saying
can I
here,
can I pause you with the
absolutely.
coffee? This is what I learned. So I used to love it was the Chobani, I think it was cookie cake, coffee cake, cream. And so when my friend that has cancer would come over every Wednesday for breakfast, I'm a like a teacup fanatic, and I had these big giant blue and white teacups. And I had this espresso machine, and I used to make us this big thing of espresso and take the Chobani um, sweet cream, put it in a coffee, and we would sit there. And I would say, oh, that was like and I would rationalize it like I'm not eating bread and pasta and rice, and I'm just having this little bit of cream. And what I realize now when I have my coffee and my heavy whipping cream, it wasn't the coffee, because now I have a teacup with some heavy whipping cream, and I don't even drink the whole entire little teacup. It was the sugar. I was sitting there, I wasn't enjoying big cup of coffee. I was enjoying the sugar, because when you take the sugar out of your coffee, it's not that enjoyable like it was before. I have this little teacup, and I put heavy cream in it, maybe a dash of cinnamon, and I'll usually even drink just half of that. Whereas when I had my big giant mug of, coffee, Chobani laden, coffee, it was like, oh yeah, this is delicious. It was the sugar was delicious. Had nothing to do with that coffee. Because once you take the sugar out, the coffee wasn't so delicious anymore. Now it's heavy cream, and I probably drank half a teacup. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
No,
what
no
was top of
interruptions
mind?
here. This is our
Yeah, I had
conversation.
to say that. And there's a
I
lot of
love it,
people, they're
because
putting
I
the,
want people to hear the lived experiences. There are people who are getting up with these same experiences and they have no explanation. So what you're doing is putting some color to it. Could just be like you're not really a coffee person, you're really a sugar person, right?
absolutely. And
And
I
so
rationalized it with, I'm not eating a lot of desserts. We don't have a lot of processed food in the house. I'm the health nut. Like, here's my office. I probably got 1,000 books on health and wellness, and I would rationalize, I'm not eating a processed junk food. Surely, this little bit of cream is not going to hurt me. But that little bit of sugar, as she said, more than a teaspoon, turns to fat. So it absolutely did hurt me. But
yeah,
again, the lies we tell ourselves, and that I was lying to myself saying, oh, it's okay because I'm not eating a biscuit for breakfast. It's okay. I'm not eating, all these refined carbs. But it wasn't okay. So the little bit of sugar that I was eating and drinking, my body was taking it and just saying thank you and storing it as fat.
absolutely. That inflammation is, when you talked earlier about your pictures, like that puffiness, that's
Mm-hmm.
that's the sugar, right? That's that coffee that you were just enjoying. And now we got this sugar. Now we've, eating this baked potato and we're trying to figure out where it goes, because we're not pooping it out, right?
Right.
Because the body is starving for nutrients, it's saying, hey, let me sit this over to the side just in case I'm never going to get nutrients again, thus the blow up, as I say, right?
Right.
Thus this we continue to get bigger. Now, we were a hot topic tonight. I'm just going to tell you that I personally send a text message to probably every one of my contacts. So I think tonight I never got so many responses back to ding, 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 no hot flashes. That was, folks was like, oh, I'm listening tonight. So we got to get into, and I will say for me, I'm 54, I'll be 55 this year. And as I was going through menopause a couple of years ago, I was struggling with the hot flashes. I still love super cold, but I don't love super cold because I'm having a hot flash. So we cannot leave the ladies that are joining tonight and the men, because I have men who come to this space. They like, look, have my wife out because she is freezing me out of here. So talk to us about the no hot flashes and what you think was contributing to the hot flashes.
It was the diet, because going carnivore, and it's the little things that you don't. It's like one day, it's sort of like the gray hair. It's like, oh, I don't have a lot of grays coming in. And then it's one day when you're so used to sleeping through the night and not having insomnia. And we took, they have so many videos about perimenopause, menopause, and this is what's normal. And it's not normal. I mean, they've conditioned us to kind of accept, oh yeah, hot flashes, that's a normal thing. No, it's not. Now, when I go to sleep, I don't wake up in the middle of the night. I don't have insomnia. I don't have hot flashes. You know, it's not normal. Just like the OBGYN wanted to tell me, oh yeah, the fibroids that you have, like you're over 50. You know, a lot of women over 50 have fibroids and painful periods. It's normal. No, it's not. And all with it, just there's just those slight changes in the diet. Boom. So yeah, it's like hot flashes is gone, and now I sleep a lot better. And when I wake up, I don't have that groggy feeling. You know how you eat a lot of carbs, you have a heavy meal, you go to sleep, you wake up, and then you really don't want to get out of the bed. Now I wake up and it's just like my dog is like me and like, come on, buddy, let's go for a walk. I have energy. So yes, at 52 years old, I have no more hot flashes.
You've just saved the world. They can come back and thank us for it. So let me unpack that just a little bit. So what we're saying is that you balance your hormones when you are not eating too much sugar. So sugar takes everything out of whack. And so when things are out of whack, we just never know where they're going to land. I used to call them manifestations, but now I call them reactions. So one of the reactions to overeating sugar in any form is perhaps you have hot flashes. Perhaps, like me, you're diagnosed with autoimmune lupus. You are fatigued, right? You are graying sooner and more. So all of these things are actually tied to the amount of sugar that you are having. And we think it's minuscule because we try to do something healthy. Okay, let me put this in perspective. Carnivore, the term drives people crazy. Oh, I can't eat all that meat. Meat doesn't digest. What we're saying is that meat does not turn to sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Meat does not, your body absorbs the nutrients. It becomes a part of who you are. This is why it is not turning into hot flashes. This is why we are healthy. Our skin is glowing. You go back and look at some pictures of me when my skin was all dark. I've had the young lady on Saturday, Carnivore Cutie was here, who talked about for 15 years, she struggled because of her cycle. It was the sugar. So we have a war on sugar, y'all. We are trying to get us off of sugar. At least help you to be super aware that if you get up in the morning and you're eating a bowl of oatmeal with some wheat toast and some orange juice and a little strip of bacon, then you have a salad and a veggie patty on top. Then at dinner, you say, oh, I'm going to have a baked potato with some greens. Oh, I'm not going to even eat the cornbread this time, but you eat some fried chicken with some breading on it, right? And then you drink some sweet tea. I ain't had no sweet tea all day. I haven't had but one Coke all day. Y'all, you just ate a whole bunch of sugar. Mm-hmm. And what we're saying is that be aware of that. Eat more bacon, eat more eggs. Okay, you don't eat pork. Fine, you don't eat pork. Eat more burger patties, right? For us in this space, we're trying to create a space where like we're not eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Eat when you're hungry. The problem is we've turned those signals off and we don't even know when we're hungry anymore because the body is ravenous because it did not get nutrients. So my son, I'll use him as a prime example. My son was a huge fried rice eater, right? So when you go to the fried rice place, you get this huge big box of fried rice with these little pieces of shrimp or chicken in there, and you eat all of that rice in like in an hour. Your body is like, yeah, I need more. But guess what? All of that rice that you did not that you consumed, I don't care if you did have a poop right after, you didn't poop it all out. So guess
Right.
what? It is somewhere stored as sugar on your body, as inflammation. This is where the puffiness comes from. I talk about me, not y'all. I know I got visceral that came here 10 years ago. I don't know which cupcake it was or which birthday it was, but I still got it. I'm still working it out. Okay. So we're saying you get a chance to stop that sooner so that you can live in this vessel for the next 40 years. So thank you. So my high flash sisters walking around with the fans, y'all got neck fans, y'all trying, you got beads on your fans, and we're saying we drop the fans.
That's
We
right.
are cool like that. We hot girls, but we cool like that,
There you
right?
go.
We're not
Absolutely.
having hot flashes because our body is nourished. We're not having the hot flash reaction. Now, Tanya, I want you to talk a little bit because sometimes I get a bad rap and people feel like when I say things like plant-based equals sugar-based, that I'm bashing vegans and vegetarians. That is not the case. What I want is for people to be sugar aware. And when you take all meat out of your diet, if you eat no meat, you don't eat chicken, you don't eat fish, you don't eat shrimp, you don't eat beef, you don't eat any meat, and you only are consuming plants primarily, you are only consuming sugar.
Right.
So, and it has nothing to do with your size, right?
Right.
Essentially, you're only consuming sugar. Can that work for some people? I would say yes, if you are keeping in touch with your labs. So, Tanya mentioned about insulin resistance. You need lab work. And I don't want you to come back and say, Doc said all my numbers are good. I want you to better understand what those labs mean. You have to get lab work. Okay. You need to know a fasting insulin and an A1C. And if a doctor tells you that your A1C is normal and it's in a 5.5, 5.4, that's normal for not being diabetic. It is not normal for being insulin resistant. Do
Right.
your homework and your research. Go back and watch some videos and really understand what it means to be insulin resistant. So, thank you for that, Tanya. So, talk to us about when you were featured in the magazine. You showed us a little bit about it. Um, what made them come to you? How did you get engaged with that? And again, this was, I think you said in 2000.
Yeah. The magazine was 2007.
Okay, so we're talking
So
18 years ago. Uh,
2007. And yeah, so in 2007, not 17, 7, 2000, yeah, 2007. What made I was just really big into, because I lost a bunch of weight. My before and after was just like spectacular. And I was like, how do I say? um, I thought in my head like this was the right diet, and I just wanted everybody in the world to be on this diet. But you know why I wanted everybody to be in the world to be on this diet is because I couldn't socialize with any of my friends. So yeah, it was like I wanted to tell the world about the diet. And here's what I didn't like about being a raw vegan. So one thing it was the food noise. You had to always prep, 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 prep. So even at breakfast, you're thinking like a meal ahead, a day ahead. You know, it's like, okay, what am I gonna eat for breakfast? I'm gonna eat XYZ. I'm gonna have some chocolate mousse with cashews. Okay, now I gotta soak the cashews. What am I gonna have for lunch? I gotta, and it that's one thing I did not like, because it was, you're always thinking about food. You're never really satiated, and you're always constantly, what I'm going to eat, what I'm going to eat, what I'm going to eat. There's and with I got With this, I absolutely love it. My son-in-law gave me, it's called a was it a sous vide?
Sylvie.
And so yeah, I put the frozen steaks in, turn my sous vide on, and it's like, throw it in the pan and sear it. And yeah, I don't have food noise. Back then it was like it was constant. What I'm gonna have, I got to prep for tomorrow. What I'm gonna have, I don't have that. Long as I have meat in my freezer, I don't have all that food noise. I'm not thinking about like today when I went to the spa. I had gyro meat and chicken, and that was it. I'm full. There is no dinner because I'm full. I don't need to eat probably until tomorrow. I don't have all that. It's not constantly what I'm going to eat, what I'm going to eat, what I'm going to eat. And so I was never satiated. And I always, what I call food noise, which you're always thinking about the next meal, the next meal, the next meal, the next meal, and all that shut down. And I used to just tell people, always think about food because I'm a foodie. And again, that's some of the lies we tell ourselves. That was one of them. And I say, yeah, I just always, and I remember when Thursday nights, I asked my husband, well, where are we going to go tomorrow morning for breakfast? And he's like, it's like dinner time on Thursday, and you're asking me about the next meal on Friday morning. Because again, when you have like a sugar addiction, and a lot of people don't think they do, you constantly have the food noise going in your head. I don't have that anymore. I don't have that. I'm satiated enough where my body is not like, okay, what are we going to eat? Are we going to put pasta? Are we going to eat Chinese? Are we going to, all that shut down. It's all shut down, and I love it.
So tell us this. This has been so good. The questions, got a few questions that we're going to go through. A couple of people speaking. One, I want to just tell everybody, you mentioned the animal. If you can go to Apple TV, I put a link in the comments that you can find that there is a fee to watch it because it's a documentary. You want to find that and watch it. It's called Animal Period. Like you need to put the period in there. Maybe add like Ken Berry's name to it so that you can find it easily. But I do know that it is on Apple TV now. It's worth your watch. We want to do that. But tell us, Tanya, because I get a chance in the mornings if I'm up and moving around. You're starting to do something every day in your own space. And so the idea of even my show, these conversations that we're having is to get people to start thinking about how they can do better. How can I start to heal? This cane is not normal for me, right? This amputations are not normal for me. How do we start to heal? So you're doing something every morning. Talk to us about, you mentioned just then a little bit about what you're eating. And so I know that's one of the number one questions that people have is, what are you eating? Give us like 2 days of like a back to back of what you are eating in a day.
Sure. So usually, I love eggs. I never get tired of eggs. Like, uh, for dinner, I love making deviled eggs. But my breakfast is I'll have like 3 eggs. I'll throw in some shaved Parmesan cheese with my eggs, and it just depends on how hungry I am. There's days where I just take a steak and slice it up, season it with salt and pepper, and cook it in butter. There's days where I might just have my scrambled eggs and a couple pieces of bacon. This morning, I was meeting a friend at a spa in Northern Virginia. And I went to, was it Dunkin' Donuts? And I said, I want a sausage, egg, and cheese, but hold the bread. So yeah, I mean, I love, 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 love eating this way. I feel satiated, and usually once I have breakfast, I'm good until dinner time. Like I don't have, very rarely do I even eat lunch. Usually after I have my breakfast, I cook my eggs in, and I'll switch it up. So there's days where I'll have like an omelet, and I'll take the Parmesan cheese, put it in the middle. There's where I'll have the cheese omelet, my bacon. I can never get tired of bacon. It was funny because before I was carnivore, I used to just get like the thin strips of bacon, and now I'm like really into bacon. I'm like, I called a guy from church the other day, and I'm like, you can have my 5 packs of thin bacon. I don't want it. I've advanced. I like the thick strips of bacon. And so it just depends. I mean, If I'm not hungry, I might just have 2 slices of bacon and, an omelet or scrambled eggs. And one thing, if you allow me to say this, we were talking about pets, and I'm a big pet person. So I have a German Shepherd, and he used to scratch a lot. And I used to always hear, especially even vets saying, "Don't give him scraps, don't give him scratch." Believe it or not, and especially at breakfast time, my dog is like, he'll get up and he's like, "I know you're almost finished." So if I'm eating steak, a lot of times I'll throw him because I don't like eating the fat that's around the steak. Like, I can't do it. And so I've been giving him my meat scraps, and all that scratching has totally stopped. Like, it's totally stopped. Then it had me looking at the dog food that they're giving dogs, and I'm like, wait a minute. Ever since my dog has, I've given him eggs, my egg scraps, my bacon, the beef, everything they tell you not to give a dog, my steak, he has totally stopped scratching because whatever mystery, whatever they're putting in that kibble, it's trash. I don't know what that stuff is. So even for my dog, I literally now, I went the other day, I got some beef, I get the livers, the gizzards, put them in a crock pot, and now I cut his dog food with chicken. I cut it with stuff that I know what it is, and I give him fat. And I was walking my dog the other day, and a lady said, "Oh, well, my vet told me just give them lean meats." Why? Why? No. Your dog is scratching. They need oil in their skin just like we need oil. So, yeah, so a typical breakfast, like I said, is usually 3 eggs. If I'm not really hungry, it'll be 2 slices of thick pieces of bacon. If I'm hungry, just because I want the steak to cook up fast, I'll slice it and cook it up in butter.
So you did a couple of things. You freed the people talking about the way you eat, the simplicity. You talked earlier about how you silence the noise around eating, that it's, you talked about being social. So, we do things now like walking talks, right? Versus we did a meet up, MEAT, right? But when we meet up, we are meeting to eat meat. Like we were
Right.
in Virginia together. I appreciate you showing up for that.
Absolutely.
But what you also just did, because the pet lovers that are listening, this is something in my private group that the ladies that are there, they have dogs and they have learned that they need to change their dog's diet as well. So they're buying meat to feed their dogs as well, because sugar is not good for anyone. Now, if you're a cow and you have a ruminating, you have these chambers and you can break it all down, you're still gonna be fluffy. Cows are fluffy, right? But they can break it down because they have the right system. We don't have that system in order to break it down. So what I want to do is go to a few questions that I see. ADT, I'm going to put this one on the screen, says, how long did you need to be carnivore to get rid of hot flashes? Says they're about 3 months in and still have them. So give us a little about your experience. We know you've done 30 days, but talk to us about what you think is happening with your hot flashes.
Yeah, I'm 41 days in, and I would say probably after a couple weeks. And what I noticed is I was before I had insomnia. So it was like, again, I was just thinking it was all perimenopause, the insomnia with the hot flashes. And now it's like when I go to sleep, I just go to sleep. And it was weird because my hot flashes before, they always happen at nighttime. I wasn't one of those women where in the middle of the day the hot flash was hit. And it probably had a lot to do with, again, the insulin rising, because it seemed like my hot flashes was always at night, all the time. I'd be laying in bed, and my poor husband would be, I'd be, I got the air on 68, I got the fan. He's sleeping with a toboggan on his head. He had a bald head. He's sleeping with a sweatshirt and a toboggan on his bald head, and the covers all the way up to here, and I have, so yeah, I now one thing I will say, be careful with the dairy if you are eating dairy, because I remember somebody even asked one of the doctors that was on the animal. I think they had asked, it was either Kilter or Dr. Berry, about cottage cheese. Now, again, what I've learned, even if you're eating dairy, not all dairy is alike. So I remember they said for some reason, and maybe you can help me with this, Parmesan cheese. I'm good at Parmesan cheese. No mucus on Parmesan cheese. No inflammation. Now I'm talking about that hard Parmesan cheese, not that stuff that's in a can that has the cellulose in it. I'm talking about that hard Parmesan cheese. And so I get it already. It's like it's shredded. It's like in thin strips. So the hard Parmesan cheese, no inflammation. So I was watching Dr. Kim Berry. Somebody asked him on one of his lives, what about cottage cheese? And he said, everybody is different on cottage cheese and your body's going to react different. I had, again, when it comes to like that PMS, the bloating, the cramps, the one day it hit me, guess what? It was the day at nighttime. I said, okay. So I watched the live. I said, well, I'm just going to eat me a bowl of cottage cheese. Had my cottage cheese, and boom, that night, it was like, Little Red Riding Hood said, I want you to know I'm coming to town. And it was like, it all hit me that night. And I was like, oh my goodness, what did I do? What did I do? So at that point, I knew cottage cheese was not good for me. Like it literally caused that night inflammation. And, I was like, okay, I can't. So I would say, look at your diet. If you are eating dairy, and that's what I told myself last week, I said, all right, starting this week, like I was going to just try to do like a couple of weeks. Because I'm not going to lie, I love dairy. Like I am that. I want steak and cheese and I want extra cheese. So now I want to take it. It's like there's levels to this. You start off, okay, carnivore and dairy. Now in the next 3 weeks, I'm going to take all dairy out of my diet and see, okay, if I take dairy out, like even with the weight loss, how is that going to do? Because again, fat is inflammation. So just taking I want to see if I just tweak the diet a little bit, take the dairy out. And that might, I don't know if you're eating dairy or not, but maybe just try to cut all the dairy out of your diet. So I know it's hard because, again, I am a cheese. My favorite food in the entire world is cheese. I love all cheese. So, but I'm
So
going to try the next 3 weeks, no dairy at all.
So one of the things that you're saying, and this is what I offer to others, is you must find your formula. So I say we're not all different. We are all the same biologically. What is different is the damages that we enter into this space. So the damages that we've done to our body. Again, I was diagnosed autoimmune lupus, gout, eczema, pre-diabetic. Some people never have those symptoms. They have something else. So this is why I say, like, this is the most intimate time that you will have with yourself to get to know you. So what we're also speaking about, and I just want to echo what Tanya is saying about the cheese and the dairy, is that all cheese is not created equal. So the Parmesan, she's talking about shredding off the block. If you go in the store and you buy pre-shredded cheese, it has cellulose on it. Look it up. Cellulose is the same as wood chips. That's what they use to make it look pretty and not cake up. So we're saying shred your own cheese. It takes a few seconds. These are few investments in yourself. American cheese is not cheese at all. It tells you on the pack that it's a cheese product. Velveeta, not a cheese at all. These things are not cheeses. So this is where you have to go deeper and become an inspector of ingredients so that you can then unpack what you're actually consuming. Remember, I tell you all often, they lie on the front of the package. Nutrition facts, they must tell you the truth on the back. I need you going to the back to figure out the truth. And you need to check the ingredients, not just the carb count, because Velveeta is 0 carbs, but the ingredients are not favorable to someone who is insulin resistant. All right, we're at time. I want to take about 3 to 5 minutes because I want to go through and just acknowledge the people who showed up tonight. Miss House, thank you always for showing up and being a part. Miss Wellington, these are some of my local folks. B. Wendy is amazing. Thank you for my terrific life for being here on tonight. And Yvette Roger Stone Staten, I'm sorry, I called your name wrong. Thank you for showing up on tonight. And I just want to kind of slide through some of these. ADT, thank you. We love Tanya's energy. You are so right. Y'all, if you want Tanya's energy, you got to do what Tanya did. That means taking that sugar out. And then Joy says here, I'm so thankful I learned fit divide carbs by 4 to get teaspoons of sugar. So let me give you this formula really quick. I'm going to go slow. So here's the formula. When you look on the back of a package and it tells you what the amount of carbs that are in that serving, you're going to divide that by 4. So let's just say it's 24 carbs. Let's just say it's a canned drink, 24 carbs in that whole thing. You divide it by 4. That's going to tell you how many teaspoons of sugar in that can. That's going to be 6 teaspoons. Now, drinks are actually more than that. I'm just using it as an example. Okay. All right. So then you met somebody up. Letitia was here. Letitia said, my goodness, my coffee. We had to be talking about sugar at that time, right?
Yes.
All right, and then Mr. Sam Davis, who is my husband, who is the co-founder of Nutritional Knowledge. We believe if you knew better, you should do better. It's talking about the importance of knowing your macronutrients versus your micronutrients. Y'all, you got to get into this. You got to get into it. It's got to become important to you. All right, and then Simpson was here. We looked at ADT. Sharon Hodges, schoolhood friend, been a best friend for life. Yes, we are having a war on sugar. And then Simpson, I just want to pause in this moment to give our condolences. Says the sister-in-law passed away last night from cancer. What saddened me, besides losing a wonderful lady, was the piles of junk food everywhere, her normal diet, unfortunately. So our heart goes out to you. It's one of the reasons why I come into this space, because I've lost a dear loved one and many other loved ones that sadly this was their story. So we continue to visit. And then she goes on to say that, you know, friends came to visit during the bedside watch, constantly watching her eat candy, sweets, and sugar. This is major for us to stop having this love with sugar and calling it what it is. You know, we continue to say it's a treat. Y'all, it is a defeat. When you see someone who is amputated, 9 times out of 10, that person lost the war with sugar by losing a limb. So it's a serious space that we show up here on tonight. So I appreciate each one of you coming tonight. Remember, our show here tonight is Carnivore-ish. And I make sure that we say ish because it's like 7-ish. You're going to be there around 7, right? You're going to, you've lost, weight-ish, right? Because I don't want this to be a place of perfection or rigidity or restriction where it's so hard that you can't learn that protein and fat should be your priority when eating. That's all we're saying. You hear carnivore being thrown around. So what we want to do always is help you to be informed, right? The more you get informed, the more that you're going to ensure that your body is satiated. That's our little fancy word around here. That's our bougie word that says we have reached satiety. Oh, I can push back on that, right? So that satiety is what you're looking for. And the more you are satiated, the more you're going to heal. So that puts you in the ish. All right. So I got one question. Great question, Simpson. So yes, we always want to be counting total carbs, never net carbs. And we'll touch on that a little bit when I come back on Saturday, my guest on Saturday. I will make sure, Simpson, if you join me on Saturday at 3:30. Remember, y'all, I'm doing this show twice a week right now. That may soon change. But right now, I'm going to be here on Mondays at 6 o'clock Central Time, on Saturdays at 3:30. We got a packed August. Just trying to get you in this place of resetting, reclaiming. We want to pile you on so you can end the year strong, so you can get as much information. Tanya, I want to give you the last word to our audience. What would you say to the audience, male, female, that's listening? What I want to say to you is, if you've been told that your symptoms are just menopause, I need you to double check, triple check Tanya's story. Tanya, I also need you to tell them where they can find you. I know you have a group. I know you have a YouTube as well. So you got the last word. When you silence, I'm going out. Thank you, darling, for being here.
Okay. So the group is called Tanya's Carnivore Tribe on Facebook. Again, it's Tanya's Carnivore Tribe. So if I could say anything, at least just give it 30 days. And Denitra, do we have a minute so I can say this?
Yes.
Give it 30 days. The first week may not be pleasant. The first week might be, because again, think about it. If somebody is on drugs or if they are on alcohol and they cut it off, do they feel great initially? Absolutely not. They don't. My first week, and everybody's going to have different side effects. So the lady, my friend that had cancer, like I had brain fog, I had fatigue, I had diarrhea. I'm checking in with her. She's stage 4. She got energy, no diarrhea, no brain fog. It was crazy. So just try it for 30 days. When just try it for 30 days. That's all I can say. Just try it for 30 days. The first week might be like the worst week. You might hit the what they call the keto flu, brain fog. You're not feeling well. But after you get over that and you look back, like me, it's like I'm 52. I only wish somebody would have told me about this diet way back when. You'll get over that hump of, of feeling bad, and then you'll be like me and you'll be feeling great, and then you'll be feeling so great that you'll want to tell everybody about it. And that's to I'm to the point now where I have friends that have inflammation, and I'm 52 and most of my friends are in the 50 to 60 range, and just like me, everybody chalks it up to just aging. Arthritis is inflammation, you know um and the hot flashes and the grays, and a lot of times we just choke it all up to just being aging. So just try it for 30 days, just 30 days. Just give it a try and you will be amazed. I'm amazed. I'm just mad at myself, like I wish I would have found out this sooner than later. So just watch Animal, the documentary. It's also in Amazon Video. If you don't have Apple, Amazon Video, they do have it. Like she said, I think it's about 4.99, and just at least give it a try for 30 days and you'll be amazed at the results that you have.
Thank
And
you for
thank you.
sharing. Yep, thank you for sharing. I said I was going to stop, but I saw one question I want to answer. What I also did was put Tanya's tribe in the comments so that you can go to her group and become a part of her group. I also put the Carnivore-ish community. That's our group. You can go and join that. Y'all, we are trying to build a community of like minds, of people who look
Yes.
like us. When I show up in these spaces, they don't look like me all the time. I love it. Like
Right.
it's great. I've learned so much. I love it, love it, love it. I'm just trying to bring some more folks to the party, like so that we can all
Absolutely.
figure out what does it take to heal. I'm going to answer
Yes.
this question because it's a key one. Lady Woods asked about the net carbs. So what happens is a lot of people talk about adding fiber and that you can do net carbs because there's fiber in it and fiber doesn't register. The problem with it is that when you are doing net carbs, you still don't know what the ingredients are. Right. So you need to be really, I call it being an I3, an informed ingredient inspector. You have to understand that you can't manage that fiber. You don't know where that fiber is going to go, what that fiber is going to do. Okay. So a little bit about fiber. Fiber will make you poop, but fiber is not required to poop. When you take all of that waste stuff out, you are going to poop less because you're not producing waste. So your body is only going to kick out of it what it does not want. So when we do this net carb stuff, like on some of these ketogenic um, treats, if you will, they say net carbs because they've done some kind of chemical formulation to try to make it be low carb, but it is still, I am a living witness that you will only get bigger and it will spike your insulin. And so the reason why we say total carbs is because you can account for the amount of sugar, and anything over a teaspoon of sugar, diabetic or not, insulin resistant or not, is too much for the body to manage. The last thing I'll say is, would you put sugar in your gas tank? I want us to stop treating our cars better than we treat ourselves. Now, go to my channel and like it. Tanya, can you please say the name of your YouTube channel?
Uh, Look for it's the Tanya Taylor Network.
Okay. All right. Tanya, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me over the weekend. Y'all, if you did not catch Saturday's show, I got pictures up of me and Tanya hanging out in the DMV. We had a meetup. We're going to be doing some things really soon in the Memphis area. So keep your ears open. Keep joining. Go like, subscribe, share. You know anybody that is experiencing some of the things we talked about tonight. The goal is to get us healed. You'll never hear me say wellness often because I'm all about how do we get healed? How do we get back to our optimal space? Thank you for joining tonight, and we'll see you next time. Tanya, if you'll hang around.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you, darling.